Greetings, friends. My name is Pavo Stelmach, and now we'll unveil the news of these days. Russia killed 7 people in Kharkiv as a result of early morning rocket attacks. At least 16 more people were injured. According to preliminary information, the occupiers struck with S-300 missiles. It is known about the attacks on the transport infrastructure of Kharkiv and one of the divisions of the utility company which deals with the life support of the city. Vivat printing house was also affected by the attack. There was a fire at the place of impact. The blow fell on the printing house Factor Druk. It is one of the largest full-cycle printing complexes in Europe, so books from most Ukrainian publishing houses are printed there. The publishing house launched a promotion on social networks to support the printing house. It is suggested to take photos of books printed at Factor Druk and share these photos. And by the way, on the website of the publishing house stopped working today because Ukrainians in a matter of minutes follow the website of Vivat Publishing House in order to buy Ukrainian books. We Ukrainians are like that, helping for those who need help. At the same time, the occupiers attacked the village of Zolochiv, as a result of which at least 2 more people were injured. In addition, medics provided assistance to 2 more victims of shelling in the city of Lubotin. Meanwhile, the Russian regime is again talking about the so-called buffer zone in Ukraine. This is how Russians justify the war and occupation. This was reported by the Institute for the Study of War. Recently, Russian dictator Putin said that Russian troops had launched an offensive in the northern Kharkiv region to create a sanitary zone. The dictator claims that this is supposedly in order to stop the shelling of Russian regions. Deputy head of the Russian Security Council Dmitry Medvedev also spoke about a buffer zone in which, in his opinion, should cover at least all central Ukraine and a significant part of western Ukraine. ISW analysts believe that the Russians' commitments are an attempt to justify the occupation of Ukraine. According to experts, Medvedev's statements are aimed at Russians only. Let me remind you that since May the 10th, the Russian army has been trying to break through the defenses of Ukrainian troops in the north of the Kharkiv region. The invaders managed to capture several settlements. The invaders continue their attack on Vovchansk. According to ISW, this will give them a tactical advantage for a possible future advance. This will also allow Kharkiv to be shelled using close-range artillery. But most importantly, attacks on Kharkiv are now being made from Russian territory, both with the help of aviation and ground artillery. And Ukraine cannot respond to these strikes due to the illogical ban on strikes on Russian territory. The only good thing is that more and more countries and individual politicians are talking about lifting this ban. The possibility of sending NATO troops into Ukraine should not be ruled out, but it should not be advertised, according to former U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates. During an interview on the CBS channel, he said that introduction of NATO troops into Ukraine causes considerable concern within the country, and not only in the United States, but also in Europe. Gates emphasized that it is important to deliver air defense equipment, artillery and missiles to Ukraine in the next few weeks so that the armed forces can restrain the Russian offensive in the east and establish a strong defense line. The U.S. expositor urged American politicians to better explain to ordinary Americans why they should be concerned about Russia's war in Ukraine, and in particular to cite historical examples of how attempts to ignore international events later led to the need for Americans to sacrifice their lives themselves. At the same time, Prime Minister of Estonia, Kaja Kallas, said that some states have already sent their instructors to Ukraine to train the Ukrainian military. She told the Financial Times that NATO allies should not fear sending troops to Ukraine to train its soldiers. It could not drag the alliance into a war with Russia. She said that there are countries that are already training soldiers on the ground, and they do so at their own peril and risk. According to her, if Russian troops attacked training personnel of NATO countries in Ukraine, this would not lead to the automatic activation of Article 5 on mutual defense. In Estonia, according to their Prime Minister herself, the approval of the parliament is required to send instructors to Ukraine. It is an open public debate, but I think we shouldn't rule anything out right now, she said. Kallas once again expressed her belief that she does not see a risk of a direct conflict with Russia if allies help Kyiv train Ukrainian soldiers on the territory of Ukraine itself. Back in March, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland, Radosław Sikorski, hinted that a number of Western troops are already present on the territory of Ukraine, and this is actually not a secret. Zelenskyy, in a conversation with Ukrainian journalists, said that training in Ukraine is logical. It is faster than going, for example, to France and even going to Poland. And then cooperation on demining. It is possible to create a hub for repairing French or other equipment directly in Ukraine and not to send it to France. All this could be a step that would encourage other countries as well. That is, it opens a new page in this war. In 2019, Volodymyr Zelenskyy was elected to a 5-year term. His term was expected to end in the spring of 2024. So Zelenskyy is not the president of Ukraine now, is he? Absolutely not. After all, according to the constitution of Ukraine, it is clearly stated that the president remains in office until the next head of state is elected and assumes the post. This was the case in 2005 when Leonid Kuchma was in power for more than 5 years while the third round of political presidential elections took place. And this is another example of the fact that the country cannot exist without a president, although the constitution says that the term of office of the president of Ukraine is 5 years only. Also, the constitution directly prohibits holding elections to the Verkhovna Rada, the parliament, during martial law, and the wartime law prohibits presidential elections too. That's all. This is where the legal disputes with Zelenskyy's legitimacy ends. The circle of people who doubt the legitimacy of President Volodymyr Zelenskyy after May 20th is headed by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. In a recent interview with the BBC, Ukrainian Justice Minister Denis Maluska said that constitutional norms regarding the term of office of the president in wartime are formulated in such a way that anyone who wants to find something to complain about or build conspiracy theories will find it. And even more so during the war, when the Kremlin will do everything possible to weaken Ukraine. In the end, even if someone believes that the constitution leaves space for different interpretations, he can open the law on the legal regime of martial law of Ukraine. This document directly and unequivocally prohibits, under the conditions of martial law, from making changes to the constitution, holding all Ukrainian and local referendums, as well as any presidential, parliamentary or local elections. Also, a statement on the inadmissibility of conducting a campaign under martial law was signed by over 100 public organizations of radically different orientations. All sociological measurements carried out at that time showed that a convincing majority of Ukrainians opposed holding elections before the end of this war. Ukrainian intelligence expects Russia to intensify its efforts within the framework of the special operation Maidan 3 over the coming weeks. This will be the most expensive action of the Russian special services in history. Its budget was allegedly $1.5 billion. As if confirming the thesis of Ukrainian intelligence, since March, Russia has been openly involved in promoting the topic of the imminent illegitimacy of Volodymyr Zelenskyy. In parallel, the topic of Zelenskyy's future alleged illegitimacy is being promoted on Russian talk shows, on Telegram channels and in the media. So if you have such a question, do not read Russian media. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay updated, comment, like and subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support is that really matters. Goodbye.